This mainstream media noise is a distraction to keep from noticing that the BRICS nations are in the process of discovering a new world reserve currency. There are rumors that Saudi Arabia may join the BRICS alliance, which is between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. News has recently surfaced that these countries are teaming up with one goal: to challenge the US dollar's dominance as the world reserve currency. These nations understand that the dollar gives the US too much power, so by creating a new world reserve currency that is backed by multiple countries, together they hope to maintain stability in global markets, but take that power away from the United States. If Saudi Arabia officially agrees to join the alliance, then that would make this new reserve currency much more powerful, considering that oil sales are only denominated in dollars, hence why it's called the petrodollar, which plays a major role in global economic trade. If this new reserve currency were to take dominance over the US dollar, then emerging markets and developing countries could actually see an increase in trade, liquidity, and international investment opportunities. Now, the concerning part about all this is that challenging the US dollar may cause the United States to no longer be seen as a leading world power, and we all know that the United States won't just give that up without a fight. Could this be the catalyst for World War III?
BRICS has hit the headlines hard over the past few years and is often touted as a rival to the G7, but what exactly is it? BRICS, an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, represents a coalition of 5 major emerging economies. Originally termed BRIC in 2001 by Goldman Sachs economist Jim O'Neill, South Africa's inclusion in 2010 expanded the group to BRICS. These countries cover approximately 27% of the world's land and house 42% of its population. They also command a substantial share of the world's economic power, holding roughly 1/3 of global GDP, along with significant foreign reserves. Initially identified for investment potential, the BRICS nations have evolved into a more cohesive geopolitical bloc since 2009. Their annual summits and coordinated policies are based on principles of non-interference, equality, and mutual benefit. The first formal BRICS summit took place in 2009 in Yekaterinburg, Russia, focusing on global economic improvement and potential cooperation. A significant initiative was the establishment of the New Development Bank in 2014, aimed at supporting infrastructure projects. The bank began with a capital of $50 billion contributed equally by all member countries. By 2020, the bank had funded projects worth around $15 billion. Another key component is the BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement, designed to offer protection against global liquidity pressures. This arrangement is seen as an alternative to the International Monetary Fund, emphasizing the increasing trend of South-South cooperation. There have also been discussions about a potential common currency to facilitate trade and reduce transaction costs, though this idea has its detractors. The 2020 BRICS Summit, held virtually, addressed the COVID-19 pandemic and its global implications. In 2021, tensions arose between India and China. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for a transparent investigation into the origins of the pandemic, a move that China countered by calling to avoid politicization. Hosted by India, the 14th BRICS Summit in October 2022 focused on intra-BRICS cooperation and culminated in the New Delhi Declaration, which emphasized multilateralism and sustainable development. Held in Johannesburg, South Africa in August 2023, the 15th BRICS Summit discussed inclusive growth in the 4th Industrial Revolution. While there's no formal application process for joining BRICS, unanimous backing from existing members is required. 6 countries are set to join in 2024, these being Argentina, though the country faces significant internal opposition to the move, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The expansion in 2024 aims to foster a multipolar world order, amplifying the voices of emerging economies. 14 other states have also applied for membership, with many others expressing interest, and the group's growth and development show no signs of slowing down. BRICS has faced both praise and criticism in the world of international affairs. Some view it as a force for world peace and a promoter of developing countries, while others point out internal disagreements and potential weaknesses. First of all, the BRICS nations have diverse political systems, ranging from democratic to more authoritarian regimes. This diversity can lead to differing views on governance, human rights, and international law. Moreover, China's economy is significantly larger than those of the other BRICS members, giving it more influence within the group. This economic imbalance can create tensions, as smaller economies may feel overshadowed or pressured. The issue of border tensions between China and India also remains a lingering concern for both countries. These challenges could potentially hamper BRICS's ability to present a unified front on global issues, thereby weakening its collective influence. However, many analysts believe that BRICS is a potent negotiation force, challenging traditional Western geopolitical and economic goals. Fundamentally, BRICS represents a significant significant shift in global economic and political dynamics, emphasizing the growing influence of emerging economies. With its expansion and various initiatives, the coalition seeks to reshape the world order and address global challenges collectively. As we move forward into the 21st century, the role of Brics in global affairs can only be expected to grow, with its influence over geopolitics likely coming to rival or surpass the West's.
We're joined by Jean-Joseph Boileau, economist and Irish Institute advisor on emerging countries, for a deeper understanding of the situation. Mr. Boileau, welcome. Is a BRICS currency a viable project, or is it more about dethroning the dollar on a global scale?
The de-dollarization of the world economy does not only depend on the creation of an alternative competing currency, but on a whole series of small streams, sometimes large rivers, which aim to enable the countries of the South, not just the BRICS, but the whole world, to use currencies other than the dollar. So a lot of upstream work was done over the years between the two BRICS summits to try and understand how we could set up an international monetary system in which the dollar is no longer the essential architecture.
Un système monétaire international dans lequel le dollar n'est plus l'architecture essentielle.
Would you say that the BRICS will to de-dollarize is more about multipolarity than it is about dethroning the dollar?
Vous avez utilisé la bonne expression.
You've actually used the right words. We all know that the idea is to move away from unipolarity centered on the United States and towards multipolarity. In other words, the possibility that the world economy, but also in geopolitical terms, will be more balanced between the poles that carry a certain weight in world affairs. So there is a very important space that exists, and this space will therefore be for monetary multipolarity, giving the Indian rupee or yuan, etc., a more important role as an international currency.
Au yuan, etc., un rôle de monnaie internationale plus important.
Our main interest here, Mr. Boileau, is to know what impacts this de-dollarization could have on the African continent and especially on African economies.
African countries that are striving to develop are so much indebted. And the problem is that most African debt is currently denominated in dollars. At the moment, you have a phenomenon linked to the explosion of American debt. American interest rates are rising sharply. So you can see that African countries are facing a twofold problem. Firstly, their interest rates are going to be higher. And secondly, the currency with which they repay their debts, the dollar, is more expensive. Africa is a major exporter of raw materials. All these raw materials are denominated in dollars in many African countries. You know better than I do, there is a kind of creeping dollarization. The dollar is replacing the national currency, and here again, that's a very bad sign. Because at that point, the national currency is finally discarded, and so there is no longer any possibility of a national monetary policy.
Thank you for being with us, Mr. Jean-Joseph Boileau.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Breaking news. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have officially joined the BRICS alliance. That's not all. Ethiopia, Egypt and Iran are also on board, doubling the BRICS alliance size. Together, the BRICS alliance represents 3.5 billion people, or 45% of the world's population. Economic might, a combined powerhouse of $28.5 trillion. Next, let's talk about oil. These nations produce over 44% of the world's crude oil. From the deserts in Saudi Arabia to the Nile River in Egypt, this expansion brings diverse cultures and economies together. The BRICS alliance is now more significant than ever, and it's reshaping the world's economic landscape. Witness the global shift in power dynamics with a new and improved BRICS alliance.
This is huge news. 5 new members have joined BRICS, and there's 30 waiting on the sidelines, ready to join. BRICS is now a 10-member titan, and the 16th summit is coming up soon in Russia, and it could swell their ranks even further. This all comes on news of JP Morgan announcing that they think BRICS is a major competitor to the US dollar, and they think the Chinese yuan could be a huge threat to replace the dollar.
Most Kenyans, business people, investors who have been holding US dollars for speculation purposes, please offload your dollars to the market today and tomorrow. It's very honest advice from a truthful man. With what has happened, freeing 500 million US dollars to purchase fuel every month, the demand for the dollar will come down and the shilling will gain, and we don't want Kenyans to lose money. So those who have been holding dollars everywhere, hoping that it will continue going up, it will go down, starting today, tomorrow, the day after. So if you have a few dollars that you are still holding, please let them go to the market, and you'll come to thank me for it after a week or two.
This is huge news. BRICS, led by China and Russia, is aiming this week to remove the US dollar as the world's #1 currency. Countries are starting to resent the US dollar's role as the reserve currency all around the world. It gives the US government extraordinary power and allows them to put pressure on countries and impose sanctions. Many people are watching the BRICS summit that's taking place this week that could reshape the world economy and replace the US dollar as the world currency.